Hey everyone, hope you're doing good. Alright, so on today's session, I will discuss on how COVID data can be analyzed using Python. Now, this session will give you the basic overview of how Python can be used for data science. Throughout this entire session, I'll be using Jupyter Notebook as the ID for Python. Okay, so without any further delay, let's start with the session. So, as the first step, what I will do, I will download the COVID data. Now, there are a lot of sources that are available over the internet, right? And this one, out of all those options that I have, I found to be useful. Now, the website link, if you see here on the top, I'll be providing it in the below section. And if you see the description of the data, it's updated on a daily basis. So the data that I'll be using today won't be the same one that you will be downloading and probably using for your own analysis. Now, there are three different types of available. Three different types of data are available here, the same data with different types. For this particular session, I'll be downloading this CSV one. So let me first download this one. So as you can see, it's basically a file of 6.4 MB, approximately 6.4 MB worth of data. Now, before I get this data into Python and start to analyze it or start to answer a few of the questions, let me first open this one in an Excel window for me to show you the basic overview of the data structure that I have here. Now I have the data open in Excel. Now as you can see, there are a lot of columns that we have here in the data, and I won't be going through all of them because it doesn't make sense for me to go through all the columns. The column names are pretty self-explanatory. So like if you see the column names, you'll get to understand like what the data, pertaining to that column representing. Okay. A couple of columns that are very important, let me just quickly show you those. Like for example, the column B, it gives you the information of the continent. The column C's gives you the information of the country. Now I have this data segregated by countries and not by states of within a country. Okay. The one another important column is this date. This gives you or the individual rows that I have here in this CSV have been segregated by dates. Okay. So this is one of the important columns that I have. The next one is the total number of cases. This is another significant one because we'll be using this column often while analyzing the data. This gives you the total number of cases uh, as on that date. Okay. Now we have other columns as well as as we proceed with this session, we'll be using all these different columns while answering few of the questions. So I'll request all of you to just go through this data, download it once, and go through all these columns and the information that is available within the CSV file, and that will make more sense before I start with the session. Okay. All right. So that's it. In terms of what data is available in the Excel file or CSV file, let me uh, go to Jupyter Notebook for me to start with the data analysis. Okay. So as a first step, what I will do, I will create a new Jupyter Notebook and name it with something meaningful, maybe COVID data analysis using Python. That makes sense. I'll rename it. Okay. So as a first step, as you're aware that we need to, import few libraries for us to do any work on Python, right? And since we are talking about the data analysis, obviously we'll be importing pandas. So let me import pandas as PD. I'll execute this one. And if I have the library installed on my system, I won't be having any issue. All right, so it's execute. All right, as the next step, what I need to do, I need to import the CSV file that I downloaded into my Python IDE for me to start the data analysis. Okay, so for that, what I will do, I will invoke one of the pandas function to read the CSV file. So all I need to do here is to pass the path where I have kept the CSV file. So let me copy the path, paste it here, and then the last thing I need to do is to paste the file name as well. And let me execute this. So all good. Let me see whether now my data is available with Python IDE or not, or with Jupyter Notebook or not. Voila. So all the data that you have seen on the CSV file are now available on my Python IDE, the continent, location, date, total number of cases. So we are done with our first step where we have imported data into Jupyter Notebook. Now the second one, which is the vital one, is to start answering questions as a data scientist. Okay, so assume that I work for an organization where I've been asked to display the trend of the COVID cases over the months, right? And I have the data set. Now my next task would be to jot down the steps that I need to do for me to display the trend, right? Because based on this trend, the organization will take some steps or will try to predict the future. Okay, in terms of how many cases might uh, come in the future months. Okay, so let me write down the question that I have been asked as a data scientist to find out. Okay, so the question would be, how many total COVID cases were found by months, and which month has the highest number of cases? So I assume these are the two questions that I've been asked to find out. Okay, so what I will do, excuse me. All right, now once I have the question, I need to look into my data to see like all the data points that I have been asked to display as part of the question are available within the data set or not. Now there are two data points that I need to answer this question. The first data point is the total number of cases, right? And if you look carefully into this data, I have the total cases available, right? Even though that this total number of cases are basically available by date, but at least I have the number, right? Now, if I have to get the total number of cases by month, all I have to do is to just sum up the total number of cases for all the days available on that particular month, right? So that's the first data point that I have to create, or that I have to transpose into for me to answer the question, right? The second data point of my question is the month part, right? Because the trend that I need to display is to be displayed over the months. Now, again, if I get back to my data, I don't have any column available here which explicitly displays the month, right? Now, I do have a column called date where if you see here, I have the month available, but not exactly the way I need while displaying it, uh, while answering this question, right? So that's the first thing that I would do. I need to transform the data or transform this column in a way so that I will extract this month part only. Okay, so let me show you how it can be done. So let me create a variable called month, and then I'll extract the date column from the data frame where I have kept all the CSV, kept the entire CSV data. Then if you see the data carefully, this particular date column, I have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th. So I have this the first digit of the month 1 at the 6th position, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th position, right? And the second digit of the month is at the 7th position, right? So what I have to do, I have to basically extract this two things, 5th and 6th position, because 7th is the excluded. 7th is excluded, right? That is how Python's strings or lists works, right? And then convert this one into an integer. Now, why I'm converting this into an integer is because if you see the next data set or the next data, I have 0 here, right? This is basically a data for the month of Jan. Now I have 0 here and I don't need that 0, I just need this one. So that's the reason why I'm converting this into an integer so that Python will exclude any zeros at the beginning of the month. Okay, let me execute this one and let me display the month. All right, so I have now extracted the months properly. Now I have, if you see that on the second column here, I have all those months extracted properly. Now what I will do as a next step, I will add this month column, sorry, the month variable into my data. So for that, what I will do, I will create a column in my data frame and will execute this right hand side code once again. Okay, so now I have that same month data available as a column of the data frame. Let me show you whether I have the data added properly or not. If I scroll to the right, you see now I have the column added as a month and I have all those columns, sorry, all those months available here, whichever is, according to the dates that I have here on the 1, 2, 3, 4th column. Okay, so the first data point is now available with me. I have the month. Now the second one, the total number of cases that I need for me to display this or to answer the question. As I said earlier, like the question was how many total COVID cases were found by months, right? So I cannot display this total number of cases as it is. The reason being this data that I have here is basically a data of a particular date, right? So what I have to do, I have to basically sum it up, right, by all the dates of a given month, right? So how can I do that? So let me create another data frame and call a function called group by where I will pass the column that I need as a clause for the group by. So basically what I'm doing here, I am summarizing or summing up all the integer values of all the columns by month of the data frame. So let me execute this one. Now let me display this data by month new data frame. Okay, so you can see out of all these columns that I have here, what group by has done, it is basically grouped by the data by month, which is my first column here, for all the columns that I have on in my data set as an integer. Okay. Now, as far as my question is concerned, I am only concerned about this first two columns, the number of the months and the total number of cases. So I'll just exclude all the other columns for the time being while answering this particular question. But remember, this all these other columns will be required, in other questions as well. So if I have to find out like how many total number of deaths that uh, you know that was that were recorded by month, then I'll need this column, right? All right, so now I have the two data points that I needed. One was the month. I have the month column, and then I have the total number of cases as well. Okay. Now, as far as my question is concerned, like how many total COVID cases were found by months, I have that answer, right? So I have this many total number of cases that were found in the month of January. Then I have this many cases found in the month of February. I have this many counts that were found in the month of July. And as far as the second part of the question, which specifically asks about the month when the highest number of cases were recorded, and by just looking at the data, I can see like this is the month of July, when the maximum number of cases were recorded. Probably, the July will be suppressed by the month of August. But as I said, the data is available, is till today only when I'm creating this video and not for the entire month of August. Hence, for the timing, it will be July only. So I do have the two answer that I'm supposed to answer, right? But what if no if we present this data to the stakeholder, to the organization, it it will make sense, but it won't be as useful as if as depicting it as an image or chart, right? So if I somehow convert this data into a chart, it will make more sense and it will make more powerful in terms of seeing the data and as well as making quick decisions, right? Because I don't have to go through all the columns to see like which month has the highest number of cases recorded. Neither I had to, take a, assess. I need to assess all the data points here, to visualize a trend, right? So for me to uh, convert this data into a chart, what I will do, I will import another Python library known as matplotlib. And within matplotlib, I have another library that I need to import, that is pyplot. Okay, let me execute this one. And as you can see, I have matplotlib already installed on my system, so I didn't have any issue while importing it. Okay, now I'll be, probably create a bar chart, and for me to create a bar chart, I need two data points, right? I need an x-axis and I need an y-axis, right? So I do have the x-axis value, which is nothing but the months, and I also have a y-axis values, which is nothing but the total number of cases. So let me create a months list. So what I'll do, I will just put the data points or the months here, not all of them, because I have, as you can see, data available till the month of August, and this 12 is basically the data for last year. Okay, so I just created a list with all those months. This is basically the x-axis that I was referring to. Now let me create another uh, variable or list, which is nothing but the y-axis. Okay, so I'm gonna get the y-axis data. So all I have to do, I have to just copy this new data frame that I have created, data by month. Oops. And then have this column extracted here. So I'll just pass that column name here, and that's it. So I now have the x-axis and now I now have the y-axis. So as a last step, what I need to do, I need to just call this plot and this, then the bar, which is nothing but to, when this is something that you call when you are supposed to create a bar chart. We have other options like histogram and then line chart and other options as well. But for this session, I'll just keep it simple and I'll just limit this to bar. Now, as the first parameter of this function, I will pass the months. And as a second parameter, or as the y-axis, I will pass total number of cases. And then I'll execute this one. Voila! Now you have the bar chart available with you, where all these x-axis is values you see and nothing but the months, and all the y-axis is values are you seeing and nothing but the the number of total number of cases in million. Okay, and you can clearly see a trend here where if you see like as we are progressing, over the over, throughout the year, like it is increasing, and I'm assuming that it will be, this bar will be higher than what we have here in the for the month of July, right? And also by just looking at the data, I can say like for the month of July, we had the highest number of uh, total cases that were recorded. Okay, so this is it.